trying to figure out, whether they would affect the Forrester Road corridor. So it's a lot of work. And then analyzing data. How are things working out there? We're still working through these issues. The entire project is anticipated to be completed in March of 2009. Our goals and objectives, like I mentioned earlier, is what's happening today, what's going to happen in the near term, and ultimately what's going to happen for long-range conditions. What are some improvement measures that we can come up with? And we also want to get everybody involved on some reasonable improvement measures and how do we reasonably implement these solutions. So, things that we've done so far, we've gone out there and we've actually collected traffic counts during the peak seasons. We've also looked at every single intersections and identified the traffic controls and the number of lanes out there. We've also surveyed the accident data for the past 3 years, identifying head-on collisions, T-bones, rear-enders, et cetera, et cetera. And like I indicated before, we're looking through planned developments. We're talking to all the cities within this corridor. What do you guys have on the books? What are you guys planning on building in the next few years so that we can incorporate it into our near-term analysis? And so far, we've evaluated our existing conditions. The intersections along the corridor are operating at a better than level service C condition. And is everyone familiar with level of service? Okay. A level of service is kind of like at school. Level of service A is the best. Level of service F is the worst. Level of service D is in David is the county's criteria. Oh, excuse me, level of service C is the county's criteria. And if you can maintain a level of service C, you're doing good. So we've identified that all the intersections are operating at level of service C or better. The segments similarly are operating at level of service C or better. And it's just a matter of volume of cars basically over the road, over the capacity of the roadways. Now this doesn't take into account accidents on the intersections and segments. So it's not the overall picture. It's just a measure of effectiveness on how these segments and intersections are operating. The unsignalized intersections in these areas don't currently meet the minimum requirements for a traffic signal, but and again, that's just based on the volumes out there. The near-term traffic conditions, which I've been talking about, is, we're looking at all these cumulative developments in the area, and we're going to be routing them to the Forrester Road corridor where it makes sense. And we're going to be estimating the traffic that would happen in the year 2015. The long-range conditions are going to be based on the county's model, as well as looking at the SCAG's RTP projections. And we're trying to forecast into the future, 25, 30 years from now. What are the needs for Forrester? And alternatives. Hopefully everyone has picked up some comment cards, and if there are any alternatives that you'd like us to consider, please write them down. What are the main alternatives that we've been kicking around here internally is, what if Forrester were relinquished to Caltrans? What if it became a state route? What are some of the differences in our analysis techniques? What are some of the ramifications of this? And, like I mentioned before, the county has their own criteria on how a road should be designed. Caltrans has their own criteria on how a road should be designed. Intersection spacing, curb-to-curb widths, right-of-way widths, and so that would be one of our alternatives is, okay, if Caltrans were to take ownership for this, what would be the needs of this roadway? So again, come up with some alternatives, think it through, you'd be very much appreciated. How much is this all this going to cost. Once we get the alternatives analyzed, one of the things that we'll do is look at the right-of-way that's out there for existing as well as future, and develop rough order of magnitude costs. How do we pay for all this? Well, we'll research developer impact fees, STIP allocations, and local tax measures, and come up with some creative ways to fund these alternatives. And this is the first set of public outreach, and we're at the initial stage of this study. We've collected some data, we've done some initial analysis, but this is just the very first thrust of where we're going with this stuff. And we wanted to get everybody involved, key stakeholders, the public, and come up, get your ideas. The next workshop is probably going to be in the early part of next year. We'll present some of the findings that we're working through. We'll again, address some of the comments that we've heard through this and last night's public outreach programs, and we'll come back to you in February. And then shortly thereafter, we'll come up with our draft report, have it reviewed by the appropriate jurisdictions, and then, like I said, March of '09, we'll finish our final report. And that concludes my presentation. And again, I appreciate the lively discussion. And if there's any other questions, yeah.
I have two ideas. Like on Forrester Road, not making it stressful, that's what it is, but if you put stop signs on it now to slow the traffic, the trucks aren't going to want to go down it because of the stop signs. And then if you were thinking about, nibbling off along the road, that would cost a lot of money. I mean, this isn't, maybe I don't even know what's going on in the world, but why can't you just make the road straight to the desert and you don't have to buy anybody's land or stretch the cow, or is that too idealistic? Just go straight from Mount Signal straight on to wherever you're going. And then make this with the farm equipment and the people that live here.
That's a good idea.
There'll be 350,000 people.
So your suggestion would be an alternative roadway to Forrester altogether.
And then let this one to the farm people and the locals and
But you bring up a good point. I know that, again, going back to Scott's comment about relinquishment, we've got the cities of Raleigh, Imperial, and Central that want to relinquish the W6. We need to move that 86 somewhere, so that could be the case, and that a new facility may be in the picture. And Forrester Road, what we've heard in our 20-year transportation plan workshops is we want to keep Forrester Road what it was originally intended, ag-based transportation. And again, somebody brought up the issue about Silicon Boulder. Yeah, it's years away, but that could be a connection. The only problem with going through desert is, again, it's federal property. We've got a lot of endangered species out there, and it's real difficult to overcome. So we've got these issues that we'll have to take a look at. You bring it through.
That could be an alternative where we could do some research and do the pros and cons. Yeah.
okay, I live on the air, and I've lived there since '64. My husband's family settled there in 1925. Forrester Road came right down through the middle of my husband's father's property. Plus, there is a canal and there is a drain ditch. Now, if you're going to expand, you're going to take everything I have. And I don't appreciate even the thought of it, because has anybody thought of replacing that canal and replacing the drain ditch?
And the light.
Telephone poles and all that. That should.
No, you're absolutely right. And that was part of the cost estimates, the right-of-way research that we would have to do. And so yes, this study will take that into consideration if indeed we need to widen it to 4 lanes, to 6 lanes, whatever it may be.
Well, I like her idea.
Put another road.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
The road to nowhere.
It's not a road to nowhere. It's
We've
very
also
careful.
lived on